Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. Had a nice weekend. It was dominated by the Fury White heavyweight title fight, the WBC heavyweight title. But you may not be aware there was a very, very good fight that you might want to look at. Part of the Golden Boy card that was on DAZN. I think that goes back to last Thursday, and it kind of got lost in the mix. It slipped under everyone's radar, but I wanted to talk a bit about it because it's a very, very good fight. Like I say, it headlined the Golden Boy card on DAZN. If you got DAZN, if you got the app, go have a look at it. It's between Diaz Jr. and Mercito Gesta from the Philippines. Diaz is from the US. He's from California. But Gesta, well, actually both Gesta and Diaz were looking to sort of resurrect their careers because Diaz has just signed with Golden Boy, and he suffered a couple of bad defeats over the last few years. In 2019, he was stopped by Christian Correa, and then I think 2 years previous, Regis Prograis knocked him out in 2 rounds. So his career was on the slide. He's 30 years old now. So Joel Diaz Jr. looking to resurrect his career, signed a Golden Boy, and this was his first fight. This was going to be a bit of a showcase for him. But the opponent, Mercito Gesta, which is spelt Gesta but pronounced Gesta apparently, a Filipino fighter. Now, he had other ideas. He hadn't won a fight since 2018. He'd been knocked out in 9 rounds or stopped. I don't know. I didn't see the fight. I think it might have been a TKO. But Juan Antonio Rodriguez stopped him in 9 rounds. He had a technical draw with Carlos Morales. These were both in 2019. So we have to go back to 2018, where he beat a fighter whose name I can't remember. But he had lost Robert Manzanares or something like that. I've got the name wrong, but anyway, that was his last. That was Gesta's last victory, 2018. So he was the opponent. He was brought in as the B-side. It was going to be a glossy showcase for Joel Diaz Jr. Well, it didn't turn out like that, because in the first round, out comes Mr. Gesta, bouncing around like, Manny Pacquiao. I mean, he was just bounce everywhere. Lots and lots of movement. Too much for me. I like fighters to be... I like movement, don't get me wrong. But a lot of fighters think that movement is all about moving a lot and bouncing up and down and in and out and all this. It's got to be educated movement. And Gesta, although he was kind of going against that and using up an awful lot of energy early, he was landing southpaw, and he was landing that left cross bang on the button, and he was shaking Diaz from the off. And Diaz didn't seem to have a clue how to deal with the southpaw. The feet were being trodden on repeatedly. But 2 minutes in, like I say, this big left cross from Gesta was landing with great regularity, and the fight was only 2 minutes old. And down goes Joel Diaz Jr. on his back. Almost the force of the punch, the force of the attack put him over as much as the hurtfulness of the punch. But he was on his backside. He gets up. Fair play to him. He's shaken, but he knows where he is. Shaken but not stirred, shall we say. Comes back. But Gesta's got some more for him. Gesta starts doing more of the same. Lots of left crosses. Lots of movement. Definitely jumping in. Looking to pot shot with counters. And at the end of the first round, down goes Diaz again. This time staggers back into the ropes. The referee calls it a knockdown. So that's 2 knockdowns in the final minute of the first round. And Mercito Gesta, as the B-side, is suddenly flying. Well, fair play to Julio Diaz Jr. because he came back in the second round. And even though he had some very shaky moments, he wasn't taking a backward step. It was very unusual because between the first and second rounds, Diaz's corner said to him, "I'll give you one more round." The first round was that chaotic for him, and the 2 knockdowns. The corner weren't happy, so they kind of lit a fire under his backside. And out comes Diaz. Very controlled forward movement. Still very risky because Gesta's throwing that left cross with great regularity and great accuracy. But Diaz moving forward, and he was having some success. He was landing his own punches, but you always got the feeling that his punches weren't really hurting Gesta, but Gesta's were certainly hurting Diaz. But I gave the second round, it was a close one, I gave it to Diaz. I also gave Diaz the second and the third. So he's won 3 in a row. In the fifth, these are close rounds, quite difficult to score. But in the fifth, I thought Gesta edged it. Again, that weight of the punch seemed to be hurting Diaz more than from Gesta. It seemed to be hurting Diaz more, but Diaz was landing his own punches and he was moving forward, and Gesta was moving backwards a lot. He spent a lot of time on the ropes. So it wouldn't surprise me if, I mean, I gave rounds 2, 3, 4 to Diaz. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the other people watching it would have felt the same, that Diaz had worked his way back into the fight despite that dreadful first round. But from the 6th, 7th, 8th, sort of onwards, I thought, even though, again, there were very close rounds, some of them were very close rounds, I thought Gesta got the better of him. He was moving back. At no point did Diaz go into survival mode. At no point was he not moving forward. At no point was he not trying to win the fight. I just felt that Gesta, when he landed, was shaking him more. Gesta was getting hit himself, but lots of in and out movement, but he was, and then there was no body work, which was a great shame, because I think if Gesta had gone to the body more, that would have paid dividends. It would have slowed down Diaz's forward motion a lot, and he was within range for the body work. It's just that for some reason Gesta neglected it. I don't know why. So Gesta went a little bit conservative in those rounds, but was still landing good quality punches. And I think towards the end of the fight, was it the 9th or the 10th, he really shook Diaz. Diaz's legs shuddered. So a terrific fight. It ended with a unanimous victory for Mercito Gesta. He moves to, what is it now, 32 wins, 3 defeats and 3 draws. Diaz drops to 26 wins and 3 defeats. But I don't think Diaz, even though he lost this first fight with Golden Boy, I don't think that means his contract should be, discarded, or that he hasn't got a future. He's an exciting fighter. He won't ever be elite, but he's an exciting fighter. And Gesta is the same. Not an elite fighter, but someone who can get work. Because this was a very entertaining fight, and a rematch would not be unappealing. I had this fight, I think, what was it now, 97-91. That includes a 10-7 for the 2 knockdowns in the first round. So I was a bit wider than the judges. I think they had it 96-92, 2 of them. One of them had it 95-94 or something, which I thought was too close. But you can make a case. A lot of those rounds were very, very, very close. You can make a case for this being a close fight. But yeah, the right man won. Good fight. Go and have a look at it. It's on DAZN. That whole Golden Boy card wasn't too bad, actually. If you fancy, watching a bit of extra boxing, if you're not worn out from the whole Fury White circus. But have a look, it's on DAZN. Let me know your comments if you've seen the fight, or if you're familiar with either of these fighters. As always, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you could do that, trying to build the numbers up. Fantastic if you could just hit that subscribe button. Takes a second. Like the video if you liked it. Share it. Dislike it. You've got choices in life. That's what it's all about. But thanks for your time anyway. I'll speak to you soon. And as always, of course, take care of yourself. Bye for now.